Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Congregation, where we hope you will be called to your very highest calling this morning, and it will not involve a cell phone. So this is a reminder to turn those devices off. My name is Carrie Topliff, and I serve as a member of Live Oak's Board of Trustees. This morning, Worship Associate Wilson Hubble will join our guest speaker, Barb Finch, in leading our worship service. You all know that Barb Finch has been the chair of our worship committee through a number of very challenging and tumultuous years. And so we join Barb in delighting that we have a new called minister about to join us. And this is a great day for her to let her voice be heard, not as the chair of a committee, but as Barb Finch herself, whom we cherish. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edges of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we can claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. After worshiping together, we make time for coffee, tea, and conversation on the patio, and we take the opportunity to reach out to new acquaintances and to welcome new seekers in our midst. Everyone is encouraged to read the Acorn Bulletin, which highlights the many ways that we create fellowship and put our values into action. We're glad you're with us.
Come into this gathering place and be still for a moment. Come in with your whole self and leave the distractions of your busy life at the door. Quiet the chatter of your mind. Close your eyes and open your heart. Feel the movement of your breath and the presence of your neighbor. We have gathered here as kindred spirits in search of connection. Connection to source, connection to self, connection to others. Each of us brings our heart's own song, our unique experience and expression of life's mystery. Outside these walls, babies cry, lovers embrace, waves crash on the shore, breezes blow, and fragrant blossoms open to the morning sun. Listen to this June 1st morning. Listen with your open heart and your full being. Listen for the joy that marks this changing season. Listen for the grieving of a wounded community. This is the hum of the universe, the sacred vibration of life itself. May we use this time of worship to be fully present to one another, to appreciate the harmony of blended voices and the resonance of our human hearts beating as one, connected to the mystery, connected in love.
Our classes, the grown-ups will listen to a sermon by Barb about how we use our voices. For the moment, the three of us are going to use our voices to celebrate the life of one of my very favorite human beings who died on Tuesday at the age of 85. Maya Angelou used her beautiful alto voice to read poems she wrote. She lived a good life. She sang and danced and laughed, but sometimes she got frightened. So she wrote this poem and dedicated it to you. She said,
I wrote this poem for all the children who whistle in the dark and who refuse to admit that they are frightened out of their wits.
in this poem, she reminds us of the power of courage in us all and how we can use our voice to outwit what frightens us.
Life doesn't frighten me. Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Bad dogs barking loud, big ghosts in a cloud, that doesn't frighten me at all.
Mean old Mother Goose, lions on the loose, they don't frighten me at all.
Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane, That doesn't frighten me at all.
I go boo, make them shoo.
I make fun way they run.
I won't cry, so they fly.
I just smile, they go wild.
Life doesn't frighten me at all. Tough guys fight all alone at night. Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Panthers in the dark, strangers in the park, no, they don't frighten me at all.
That new classroom wear, boys all pull my hair, kissy little girls with their hair in curls. They don't frighten me at all.
Don't show me frogs and snakes and listen for my screams. If I'm afraid at all, it's only in my dreams.
I've got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve.
I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe.
Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Life doesn't frighten me at all.
We are the most expressive creatures on the planet. Poetry is in our souls. When we tap into the energy of self-expression, we access the seamless flow of life energy. We find ourselves at home in this world, inspired and freely sharing the truth of who we are. Speaking from our true self is the way we can let our unique light shine, so that the world can see it. Our dreams and desires forge the path to self-expression that leads us to fulfill our life's purpose. As we enter into silent meditation, consider this centering thought. My truth and creativity are within. My truth and creativity are within. Please sit comfortably, close your eyes if you like. In this moment, let your awareness move within. Let go of all thoughts and begin to observe the inflow and outflow of your breath. Inhaling and exhaling slowly and deeply. Now I invite you to introduce the Sanskrit mantra, hum. Repetition of this mantra helps us to feel more open about expressing who we are by connecting us to the flowing energy of self-expression and sacred breath. Repeat it silently to yourself. Hum. 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 Whenever you find yourself distracted by thoughts, noises, or physical sensations, simply return your attention to silently repeating the mantra. Hum. 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 a magic that happens in the presence of an infant who is alert and learning to engage with the world. Gazing and smiling, reaching for a finger to grab. You've all seen this. Dignified adults giving themselves over to senseless babbling. Babies gurgle and coo and light up with silly smiles. Hearts are connected in love. Neurologists call this the serve and return. It's an essential part of healthy brain development. Neurons light up at each exchange, strengthening pathways that lay the foundations for relationship and the development of self-concept. These days, I enjoy a different type of serve and return with my children. No matter how many miles separate us, or what activities we are immersed in, we have the ability to connect instantaneously. Not by clairvoyance or supernatural powers, but by the miracle of text messaging. My children have conversations all day long, talking to friends, texting and emailing and chatting online, tweeting and blogging and messaging on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Pinterest boards. Their web of connection is intricately woven. Electronic communication is an integral part of our modern culture and has the awesome potential to link people to one another like never before. Fingers and thumbs dance over keyboards, and messages fly through cyberspace every time we hit send. The human brain is still the origin of these messages, and language is still the primary mode of expression. But how do we balance the need for cyber-connectedness with our hearts yearning for deeper connection? What becomes of the human connection, the soul connection, the nuances of loving relationship when people internalize their voices and choose to communicate through other means? Today, our youth will be holding a workshop to enlighten us about the benefits and options for cyber connection. I'm guessing that the survey they did last week revealed a wide range of online knowledge and behaviors within our congregation. As a baby boomer with children who've grown up alongside this technology, I have experienced its benefits, and I readily acknowledge my ignorance and my fears. Poet Maya Angelou says, "Words mean more than what is put down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning." Indeed, the human voice is our introduction to communication, the means by which we form our first relationships and the way we know one another and make sense of the world. Self-expression is critical, and we need others to receive and validate what we offer in order to deepen our connections and fuel our sense of purpose. Emotional well-being flows from our ability to clearly communicate what we want, so that other people are more likely to meet our needs. Our happiness and fulfillment are linked to conscious communication, communication that involves presence and risk and vulnerability, and the deeper meanings revealed through voice. With voice, there is a soul quality, a release of thoughts and feelings with rhythm and tone and inflection, vibrations that have the power to resonate with another human soul. I remember watching my mother singing and rhyming with my newborn daughter. Exhausted and glad to have a break, I admired the ease with which she elicited joy from this tiny, mysterious being. "Ah, so this is how you're supposed to do it." Yes, I remember now the soothing, comforting, exciting power of a mother's voice, a familiar voice, a loving voice. How blessed I was to have this glimpse into my own healthy beginnings and to be able to offer that same gift to my children. Finding one's voice is a developmental process in the beginning. Infants use their voices enthusiastically and without reserve. Wailing with exhaustion, fussing with discomfort, screaming for attention, or giggling with glee. If they're lucky, the adults around them engage and respond in ways that help hardwire the brain for human interaction. Babies become toddlers, and people begin to give them words or signs to express themselves. As language develops, expectations increase, often resulting in a dance of wills. Adults and children succumb to overwhelm, frustration, and anger. And sometimes a different quality of voice emerges, where love becomes more difficult to discern. Growing up requires us to learn that we are not the center of the universe and that other people matter. A necessary part of this process is learning the benefits of silence. As a young child, I learned that words could hurt. I learned when to be invisible, when to keep thoughts and feelings to myself, when to keep a secret, when to exercise caution. In the interest of peace and self-preservation, my voice became stifled, and my inner mean girl eventually made herself at home. Who cares what you have to say? No one is listening. It doesn't matter what you think. Fortunately, that was not the whole truth of my childhood, only the limited perception of a middle daughter. When I was in the 3rd grade, my family started attending the Unitarian Universalist Church in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was a churchy church, a large stone building with a bell tower and a lovely courtyard. In the sanctuary, there were pews and stained glass windows and a real organ. The congregation had a children's choir that practiced during coffee hour, and I learned to sing. I knew plenty of campfire songs, but somehow the experience of singing in church had a different quality, a spiritual quality, I suppose. One Christmas, the choir director decided to hide a few of us behind the organ, so that on cue, our voices would rise up like heavenly angels and move the congregation to new heights of spiritual ecstasy. I got the giggles and almost ruined the whole thing. But maybe that was my first taste of the power and potential of the human voice. So developing one's voice is both an internal and an external process. We listen to the still small voice within and make decisions about how to express our uniqueness to the world. Growing up as a Unitarian Universalist, I had many experiences that encouraged me to use my voice. Writing fables to explain the wonders of nature, in my own words. Sharing thoughts about God and religion, talking about sexuality and relationship. I had encouragement and opportunity, and my internal process was lively, yet I was reluctant to use my voice. I had opinions, but I chose to keep them to myself more often than not. I continued to sing, but never my own song, and never the soloist, only when I could blend in and harmonize with others. I expressed my creativity, but only in secret journals that no one else could see. The voice of my inner critic was persistent and overbearing. I was afraid to be seen, afraid of being judged, afraid of not good enough, afraid of making a mistake. I kept my voice to myself. Maybe some of you can relate. This strategy worked very well for me long into my adulthood. I became a peacemaker and a people pleaser, confident on the surface, but afraid to ask for what I wanted or needed. Barely conscious of my own desires, putting the needs of others before my own, and sacrificing a piece of myself in the process. Again, I know that I'm not alone in having chosen this path. My voice was voluntarily muted, but I still lived in a world where relationship happened in real time and space. So I had plenty of opportunities to fine-tune another skill that would enhance my capacity for human connection. I learned to listen, to tune in to the subtleties of nonverbal communication, and to help other people feel that they had been seen and heard. Being seen and heard by another human being is a powerful experience that opens the heart and nurtures the soul. But how important is the seeing or the hearing? Helen Keller lost both her vision and hearing when she was 19 months old. Her Her teacher, Anne Sullivan, helped her break through her isolation by teaching her to communicate. Helen said, "Once I knew only darkness and stillness. My life was without past or future. But a little word from the fingers of another fell into my hand that clutched at emptiness, and my heart leapt to the rapture of living." So perhaps it isn't the seeing, or the hearing, or even the voice that's most important, but simply the ability to communicate with others. The presence of another human being is a critical piece, the feeling that we are not alone, that we are valued and understood. Surprisingly, these feelings can even surface to some degree when we connect with one another online. When I changed my profile picture on Facebook, 72 people liked it by tapping the thumbs up on their devices. I felt so loved. Instant messaging and online chatting give some of the benefits of serve and return exchanges. And I'm told that potential suitors can even wink at you on online dating sites. Nevertheless, I still think that true connection is enhanced by our senses, the sensory experience of human interaction, a multidimensional process of knowing one another, seeing, touching, listening, breathing in the essence of another human being, sensing the vibrations of life energy that flow within and between us, learning to recognize each unique voice. I believe that these are essential elements of conscious communication, being fully present to another person and curious about who they are and what they bring to the conversation, consciously receptive and aware of subtle cues that lead us to ask the right questions and offer responses that deepen our relationships. Now, if you Google conscious communication, you will be graced with over 38 million responses. I believe that conscious communication originates in the heart and happens only when we cultivate receptors that allow us to tune in to something that is beyond words. Call it empathy, or intuition, or compassionate listening. It takes practice, and it requires us to pay attention to how we are in the presence of others. It can only be learned through face-to-face encounters with real people, and it challenges us to lose the fear that keeps our voices muted and maintains distance between us. Conscious communication asks us to find the courage to express who we really are in ways that allow others to truly know and understand us with all of our quirks and imperfections. The modern dancer Martha Graham said, "There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and will be lost." So how does one find one's powerful, authentic voice? One of the first steps is to silence the inner critic, or at least teach her to use a gentle inside voice. Question what is true, and look for opportunities to affirm your own worth and dignity. Develop an internal reference point that tells you, "I am deserving. My voice matters. I have the confidence to speak up and ask for what I need and want." Next, make a conscious effort to tune in. Explore your innermost thoughts and desires and find a way to express them. If you can't find your own words, borrow from others. Sing, read poetry, read children's books. Sigh, hum, laugh out loud, recite affirmations. Find your own individual expression and give it voice. through music, or movement, or visual art, or writing, or talking with a trusted friend. When you are able to distinguish your unique voice, begin to own it. If you're really brave, try leading worship on Sunday mornings. Find the courage to stand before others and share a glimpse of who you are. Cultivate presence and the ability to appreciate the voices of those around you. Identify your cheerleaders and take their compliments to heart. Notice when you're holding back, when you choose not to speak up or speak out, and be curious about that. Challenge your fears, push your limits, say what you need to say. I have found that speaking comes easier when it involves my passions and strengths. Self-expression flows freely when I'm in my comfort zone. When fear takes hold, I often choose to be silent. I hold back from speaking my truth, especially if I think it might offend or hurt someone's feelings. Insecurities, fear of conflict or rejection, thoughts and feelings that I keep to myself rather than sharing. These are my growing edges. How will my voice make a difference? Why does my song need to be sung? Surely anything I have to say has been said by someone else, someone who probably said it better. I guess each person has a responsibility to express their own unique blend of insight, knowledge, and creativity. And that opportunity and circumstance somehow play a part. My particular energy and wisdom may open the door to someone else's listening, to someone else's understanding, but only if I speak up. To be sure, self-expression of this kind requires one to be vulnerable, to take risks. Risks that are not present to the same extent in a world of cyber communication. Writing an email or sending a text message provides a buffer of detachment. Detached communication is safe, convenient. It removes some of the reservations that might cause one to hold back an opinion or make a different choice. Makes it easier to cancel plans at the last minute. Easier to express feelings that expose vulnerability. Easier to justify behaviors or offer excuses. You don't have to hear the disappointment in the voice at the other end of the phone. Don't have to risk exposure or sit with another person's discomfort. And in the moment, you don't have to take responsibility for how your message is received. On the other hand, the protection afforded by the internet may actually help some people find their authentic voice, to move boldly from introverted pondering to extroverted expression. And it can be a lifeline for those with physical impairments that limit one's ability to hear or to speak. Any type of communication has its risks. Written words offer a narrower, more linear communication experience that is dependent upon mutual understandings of common words. Without the deeper meaning conveyed by voice and body language, interpretations are left to subjective filters and differing frames of reference. And yet, face-to-face communication is also a challenge. Researchers say that only 10% of communication comes through content, and the vast majority of perceived meaning is derived through context. Situations, circumstances, timing, nonverbal cues, assumptions, interpretations. Learning to read and attend to all the nuances of communication is not an easy task, and is probably at the root of most disagreements. Effective communication requires awareness and shared perspectives, things that may be hard to come by, but are worth pursuing nonetheless, whether one is operating in the virtual world or in real time and space. Perhaps we are more courageous and even intentional in expressing ourselves through our devices, but I suggest we make a commitment to being intentional about how we choose to communicate with one another in any given moment, and that we commit to sharing this type of wisdom with our children. We need to embrace the breadth of human connection, welcoming innovation, while making time to be with one another in deep and authentic ways. We need awareness to discern when the sound of a voice would preserve a relationship or make a conversation more meaningful. We need to find ways of infusing our electronic messaging with sensitivity and presence. And we need to be responsive and caring in a more conscious human way when the situation calls for that. Above all, we need to make time to be together in community, to connect through the vibration of our voices and our human hearts. May it be so. The hand of the person beside you as we close our time of worship with these words. Your life is whispering to you all the time, gently guiding you to the fullest, most authentic expression of your soul. Move with the flow of those whispers, and you will begin to become all of who you were meant to be. Listen to your calling. What is waiting inside you to be fully expressed? Move toward knowing it, honoring it, and then sharing it freely, shining your light for all to see.